Hi, I'm Sam, founder of Life After Natural Disaster, a YouTube channel about what life looks like after you go through a natural disaster from somebody who's been through it themselves. And so today I'm going to be going over the first 72 hours after you've evacuated due to a natural disaster going through your community and how to make sure you're providing what you need for water, food, shelter, and some sort of bathroom system. The easiest way to make sure that you're getting kind of all four provided is focusing first on how you're going to shelter, and then all the rest of it will kind of fall into place, or you'll figure out where you need to devote additional resources. So one option is finding a Red Cross and where a Red Cross is set up near you. So this is a really great because they have so many services that they can provide. They're typically set up at either an expo, high school gymnasium, something where you can really get a lot of people easily in and out and fairly comfortably. I'm going to, in the description, link to a website where you can find where the nearest Red Cross shelter is in your area in case you're needing to find one. This is going to have food, water. They'll also have some sort of cot for shelter. They're going to have a bathroom, but they're also going to have other services such as medical care, mental health services, and really a lot of just resources in general for figuring out next steps. So that might include financials, helping with finding temporary housing. It really depends on what your disaster is and what that Red Cross can offer, but they're going to have all of those services in one location that are essentially going to be coming to you rather than you having to go to different locations to seek them out. This is really wonderful for a one-stop shop and to get everything you need all in one go. There are a couple of things to be aware of when it comes to the American Red Cross. If you have pets, they aren't going to be able to stay with you in that shelter. They may have to be put in a different location. The American Red Cross will help you find a place. In our scenario, situation, that was actually fairly close by, so you weren't separated with a large distance, but every location is going to be slightly different. If you have a service animal, that service animal can come with you, which is also good to know and be aware of. Another thing is that there will be a lot of people around you. You're not going to necessarily have a ton of privacy. You can always step out, go to your car if you were able to have a vehicle when you evacuated, but you're not going to necessarily have walls and a door, and you are going to be around a lot of other people who are going through that same intense experience the same time as you are. And you might find that really helpful and making kind of more of a community and enjoy having that kind of camaraderie, or it might be something that's maybe not for you, and it's good to just kind of know going into that situation it might be a little intense. But they're very much there to help people. They're not going to close up shop just because it's been a week or so. They're really there, and they have a ton of resources and are there for all kinds of people. Even if you thought you had housing and you have to come to an American Red Cross later, they're really there for the people and making sure that you guys are fully supported. Family and friends is also another option that, if it's available to you, is really lovely. You have the opportunity to just surround yourself with people who love and care about you, which can be very helpful in such an intense time. And this might look different for different people. So if everyone converges to one singular place, there might not be as many places to sleep. So you might be on the floor or on a couch. You might be in a different location though, where you're the only one sheltering there. So you're going to have some walls and a door and some privacy, which is really a wonderful thing at this point. When you're staying with family and friends, your water, your food, shelter, and bathroom are typically all taken care of. The food might be the sort of thing that, depending on how stocked somebody's pantry and fridge was at the time, they might have to go and get some food in those 72 hours, but there is a kitchen, there's a space to cook. Food becomes a lot easier when you have kind of a fully stocked house. There are some things to kind of know and consider. One of the things is that you are going to be going through something fairly intense with people around you who are not experiencing the same thing. And you might see that as a very good thing. It might be really good for you to have that kind of support. It might also be something that you're not as comfortable with, going through that kind of intense experience around whoever you're staying with. So it's kind of good to just know that and keep that in mind. Another thing to know is you do not have to stay in a place if it is not safe, or it's hostile or toxic or not a good position for you to be temporarily sheltered in. The American Red Cross will be available to you even if you don't immediately go there. If you need to leave your situation because it's not safe and it's not healthy, you absolutely can leave, and there are people who are still going to support you and give you those resources that you need to move into the next chapter of life after a natural disaster. Which brings us to hotels and Airbnbs. And so these can be really wonderful because you're gonna have the most privacy in this specific option. However, it also could potentially be the most expensive. If you have some sort of insurance policy, they might cover living at a hotel. However, before you bank on that or just assume, it is good to talk to your insurance provider just to make sure you don't get fit with an unexpected bill. Or be okay with the fact and know going into this that they may or may not cover it. They probably will, but you still might end up incurring that cost, and just being okay with that. You know, you might have a couple days worth of hotel bill on whatever financial resource you have. And so that's something to just kind of be aware of. Another thing with hotels is that your food will not necessarily be covered. So you will have shelter, you will have bathroom, and you will have water, but not a lot of hotels have some sort of kitchenette or anything like that. So you are going to have to find ways to get food, whether this is eating out, if you're, able to potentially you have a microwave in your room and you're able to get some microwave food. But it is kind of good to know that you will be having to kind of travel out to necessarily get meals. You might have be able to find a hotel. I know like Hilton Homes and stuff tend to have more of a kitchen and they're set up a little bit more for that. And so those would definitely give you more of that flexibility, but something to just kind of consider with hotels in general. Another option, kind of hotel adjacent, is Airbnb. So Airbnb supposedly does have a website, which I will link down below, for natural disaster relief. I will say when we had our natural disaster, over 2,000 homes were lost in our area and they didn't have anything provided for us. I'm not sure whether that was just because of where we lived, if the disaster wasn't big enough, but it doesn't hurt to try because you might be able to find some assisted housing in that, and which would be really lovely. Airbnbs also typically do have some sort of kitchenette or hot plate or Instant Pot available as part of it. And so that can also be nice because then you would have all your 4 needs to a certain extent. You'd still have to buy food, but at least you would have somewhere to cook food in that kind of general area for you and make it a lot easier. So that's hotels and Airbnb. If you evacuated in your car, that's another option, is to just continue staying in your car. One of the things that's really important to think about with this option though is it safe? And I don't just mean is somebody gonna break in your car safe, but with certain natural disasters, for example, my expertise is wildfires, there might be fallout after a natural disaster that can be physically harmful for your health. So particularly in a wildfire, the smoke that burns from a house fire versus a wood stove or a natural wildfire that's in the hills and is burning organic matter are different. There's a lot more heavy metals coming out of the smoke for the houses, a lot of really intense chemicals. So it's good to know that your car might not be actually sheltering you from those things. Other things to consider is temperature. So if you're experiencing a natural disaster in the summertime, it might be extremely hot and you want to make sure that you are actually able to regulate your temperature, keeping it down. If something happens in the winter and you've had to evacuate, kind of the inverse of that. If it's too cold, you don't want to have any sort of problems with freezing and thinking about that. One of the things you can do if you want to stay in your own car is you can park in a place such as a Walmart, Target, something that's kind of bigger that is going to offer the water and food and bathroom kind of aspect of this that you're not going to be getting just from your car alone and by itself. One thing you really want to make sure you're not doing is just driving out into the woods without your basic needs being met, again, being water and food and you can always use the bathroom in the woods, but kind of things just to think about and making sure that you're really thinking clearly and have what you need. But there's nothing wrong with saying, I want to stay in my car right now until I figure out the next steps. All right, so that is how you can make sure you're finding your basic needs are being met in the first 72 hours, how to find food, water, shelter, and somewhere to use the restroom. I do have another video coming out about things to be doing in the first 72 hours, as well as things to be kind of be mindful and thinking about during that time. If this video was supportive and helpful, please like and subscribe. I will be having more content coming out about what kind of life continually looks like after a natural disaster. And until next video, stay safe and stay strong.